So we're looking at a timing sheet here, and Perez went out in Q2. There is your bottom 10. Ocon and his teammate Gasly in 12th and 15th. Lance Stroll out in Q2. Alonso out in Q1. Wow. Albon 14th. Both Sauber 16th and 17th. Magnussen 18th. Another shocking session. And it appears that did Sargeant. And, well, Sargeant didn't even clock in a lap. And, so if you're joining us, it is currently Q3. Of course, the bottom 10. I mean, Perez getting knocked out by just, my God, only by like a few hundredths of a second, mind you. Of course, both RBs are through into Q3. Tsunoda and Ricciardo. I mean, the junior tour Red Bull of Tsunoda Ricciardo is clearly fast this weekend. Hulkenberg is in Q3 once again. Of course, there's only 7 minutes remaining of Q3, for those wondering. This weekend has proved, no, come on, man. The Aston Martin is so slow right now. I mean, Max Verstappen, as you can see, is leading the time charts on course for yet another pole position. Leclerc, wow. Charles Leclerc is up to third. Piastri is in fourth. Of course, I think Piastri might be getting hit by a three-place grid penalty for an incident with Magnussen earlier on. Russell and Hamilton, I mean, the Mercedes is not super quick, but it is what it is. What else? I mean, what? I mean, that's for Aston Martin. I mean, look at that. Fernando Alonso has 33 points for the season, and the Aston Martin has completely slipped off in terms of development. That is really bad. Of course, if it stands right now, I mean, Verstappen is heading for what? It's 7th pole in 7 races. That's surely going to be a record of some sort. Okay, Vettel and Kimi, yeah, of course I know they're quite underrated in there when it comes to their prize, but the problem is both Kimi and Seb fell off in the last few years, so it is what it is. I mean, as for Alonso, I mean, the guy is now, what, 43 years old? Who do I think I'd have been F1 Prime? I don't honestly know, to be honest. It's very close, but I would narrowly go for Kimi Räikkönen, to be honest, because I mean, the thing with Kimi is that he just seemed to be able to. He was challenging for a world championship in a 2-year-old McLaren back in 2003, so that's what I'm going to say. Would you look at that? That is both Aston Martins out in Q. Q3. No. Both Aston Martins out before Q3, I meant to say. Perez out in Q2, missing out on the top 10 yet again. Another shockingly bad qualifying performance by the Mexican driver. I don't know what else to say, to be honest. Apparently, I'm just seeing a stat alongside here saying that a victory for Hamilton will make him the first driver to have won in 16 different F1 seasons. I don't know. I mean, apparently that would be Hamilton's record. I mean, I'm presuming Schumacher and Hamilton have both won in 50 different years of Formula One, but of course, no one has broken that record since, of course, Vettel is retired and has never won in as many seasons. And Verstappen, I'm guessing, has won in, I don't know, how many years has it been? 9 years so far in his career? And of course, was there Hamilton is, I think, does have a certain record in that he won a race in the first 15 years of his career, which is quite incredible. Apparently, if Hamilton or Alonso win a race this season, they will become the first drivers to have won a race after 300 Grand Prix started in their careers. What is this crypto? No, mate, it's the timing board for qualifying. Can't you see? I mean, Perez is out in Q2 in a shock. Yeah, not a qualifying shocker. Vettel had 10 winning seasons yet. And everyone is on their final qualifying lap. I presume they're all on the soft tyres. Oh my lord, Hamilton's gone down to 9th place. That is a disaster. I mean, what's it? Max has just set purple sector there. He's on the final flying lap. Oh my god, Max Verstappen really should be on course for another race-winning weekend. Vettel, honestly, Kiefer, I think it might be just a little bit too early to compare Max and Sebastian Vettel, to be honest. We've got to see what will happen in the 2026 rule changes. Like, how well will Max cope with the new regulations, and what team would he be driving for by that time? I have to say, from 2014 onwards, just like Kimi's career, Vettel did definitely start to drop backwards. So I have to say, Max could easily have a much better career than Sebastian Vettel, when you consider, of course, Max Verstappen already overtook Sebastian Vettel's record for most all-time race wins already at the age of just, 26 years old? Apparently, Piastri has just done a purple S2 and he's now in 2nd place. My God, he's going in front of Norris. That is amazing. Apparently, of course, the checkered flag has been flown by everyone's on their final qualifying lap. I think it's over now, but look. Look at that. The bloody hell, the Red Bulls of the RBs have managed to completely get in within the two Mercedes. Quite amazing qualifying, if you ask me. I apologise for what just happened there, because I think the TV just went for an advert break in a most bizarre manner. Apologise, but Max Verstappen is definitely qualified on pole position ahead of Piastri and Norris, our newest race winner in Formula One. And then, of course, the Ferraris of... oh, right, Fernando Alonso crashed in FP3, so that's why he's had such a bad qualifying session, because they were trying to fix his car. Deary me, I mean, Alonso, I kind of think it's pretty wise why Red Bull decided to give Fernando Alonso why Fernando Alonso decided to sign a contract with, of course, Aston Martin until 2026, because if I'm going to be brutally honest, I'm not really sure Fernando Alonso is quite as good as he used to be. Would you look at this timing stream? This looks like 2011 all over again. Well, I'm not sure about that, say, but it turns out to be it is pretty much Noah's Ark behind most of Max Verstappen. Of course, the two RBs are sandwiching the two Mercedes. Hulkenberg gets into Q3 yet again. Unbelievable driving, you gotta say. Perez. Wow. Once again, Perez's atrocious qualifying form has to be talked about. If you're wondering, yeah, the session has now ended. Ocon is in Q. Ocon once again out-qualified Gasly. Oh. You know, as much as I want to praise Tsunoda, I have to say, you know, there is a bit of an asterisk to quite a few drivers and teams' names right now, considering their performances. I think Tsunoda is able to perform well in what is, I have to say, a really aging field at this point, with the likes of Hamilton and Alonso heading... Well, Alonso already on the wrong side of 40. Hamilton soon to be 40 soon. Would you look at that? Max Verstappen just squeezed in ahead of the two McLarens, so close in qualifying. Max Verstappen has really improved his qualifying speed this year. Leclerc was not far behind, while it was the two Mercedes. Russell, half a second behind. Hamilton, almost over 7 tenths behind in raw speed. We got to give credit to RB here. I mean, they've got their two cars in Q3 for the first time this year. And as for Perez, well, he's got to be kicking himself once again, missing out on Q3. Like, come on, mate, that's not good enough. Gasly will go to Mercedes, so, oh, God, Lord, I really am worried. I am seriously now worried about what Gasly's F1 future is going to look like, to be honest. Because right now he is getting really badly hit in qualifying form. Alonso had to abort 2 qualifying laps yet. I've already mentioned that because, of course, I did find out that Alonso had his crash in FP3 this morning. And, of course, his car is a mess. But I have to say, though, this has been an extremely poor weekend for Alonso nonetheless. Because, of course, he has been out-qualified by Stroll. But even when you take that into account, Aston Martin, I've got some serious problems with their car now. I mean, look, I know you like to defend Fernando Alonso, Will, but Alonso has not been doing very well this weekend. You cannot sit there. I mean, whilst, yes, he had a few problems last time out in Miami, I have to say, there are some issues down at Aston Martin, and I have to say Alonso has been, well, not exactly been having a great weekend this weekend. It's not... I have to say, I do wonder how on earth Alonso will get on at Aston Martin in the next 2.5 years, to be honest, because of course we all know he had an amazing start to 2023 and he's still at Aston Martin, but since then, things have horribly slipped off badly for the two-time world champion. McLaren, once again, outstanding weekend. Just a truly fabulous weekend for the McLaren, the Woking team. Shot the two Ferraris at the home track, decent qualifying, but I've got to say, I do not really rate their chances of winning tomorrow's race particularly highly. Mercedes, horribly off the pace. RB, very impressive. Seriously impressive speed all weekend, I have to say. I think they've got a chance of scoring double points tomorrow. As for Perez, though, what a shocking qualifying session. We can't say if the upgrades are doing anything or not when Stroll outpaces Alonso well. I just think Aston Martin's upgrades are just not working right now. They're just not working that well. That's all I can say, to be honest. They really need to reassess the technical department at Aston Martin, because how on earth have Aston Martin lost so much speed this season? As for Alpine, I mean, okay, yeah, I know they're still not like where they want to be, but this is a huge improvement where they were compared to the start of the season at Bahrain. For, of course, Ocon and Gasly. Bottas and Zhou, I suppose, is more or less Sauber staying where they were, to be honest, in that they probably do have the worst car on the grid, but the two drivers have at least managed to stay away from the back row of the grid. I have to say, though, I think in terms of outright all-round speed, the Williams just about has the worst car. But of course, Albon and Sargeant, as we all know, have been making some critical errors recently. So I really don't know what the true pace of the Williams or the Sauber truly is. I have to say, if you had to ask me who had the best driver lineup of the bottom three teams, it's got to be the Alpine boys. Ocon and Gasly, I think, are better drivers than anything that Sauber and Williams have got in their teams. Apparently, Sargeant didn't had, I think his laptop deleted by the looks of things. And Magnussen, of course, got knocked out Q1 because he had a collision with Piastri, who I think, even though Piastri has qualified P2, Piastri could well be starting P5 if he gets a penalty for his collision with Magnussen earlier on. Aston Martin is slow right now, and there is an internal problem with the team. I am guessing that has got to be the case, because how have they lost so much speed recently? Like, this is not normal. This is not normal, folks. Of course, if you saw earlier this weekend, Sebastian Vettel returned to the paddock and decided to get everyone doing a track run in honor, of course, the late Ayrton Senna and the late Roland Ratzenberger. Obviously, everyone is paying their tributes to the 30th anniversary of those two drivers' death. Of course, both drivers died at the age of just 33 and 34 years old, respectively. Mercedes are getting out of jail free when you look at Aston Martin's performances. Yeah, I've got to say this. I mean, Aston Martin are just simply not there to challenge Mercedes right now. I think the narrative recently was about how Mercedes could potentially lose P4 to Aston Martin, but after all the recent chaos, I have to say, well, I mean, Aston Martin are nowhere clear. Well, Aston Martin might not even might well be struggling to get P6. It might struggle to finish P5 if, of course, the two RB boys, Ricciardo and Tsunoda, can start scoring points like there's no tomorrow and start catching up with the 39 points that Alonso and Stroll have scored for the Silverstone-based team already. And I have to say this, Aston Martin really need to sort their stuff out, to be honest, at their technical side of the garage. And as we all know, of course, I mean, Lance Stroll is not a good driver. I've said this already. I just don't see Ricciardo not doing anything. Look, Ricciardo did finish fourth at the sprint race at Miami. I know people don't like sprint races, but the thing is, I think with Ricciardo is that if you give a car that he can drive, it handles to his liking. The brakes don't, like, you can sort of be able to, the car is drivable, like, you don't need to hit the brakes too late to make the car perform. Ricciardo will be a happy man, and I'm sure he will score points. I know Ricciardo is not the same driver he used to be 10 years ago, but he is still good enough to score points here and there. And as for Tsunoda, of course, we have seen him improve so much in the past 2 years now. Ricciardo has a good race, yeah, I know, but I'm saying though, of course, like, if the car is handling the way Ricciardo likes it, he can perform. I'm not saying that he's going to be beating Tsunoda or necessarily going out there finishing the top 5 all the time, but he does still have enough to be able to score like 8th, 9th, and 10th place every now and again. And of course, if Aston Martin continues struggling and Tsunoda can really, really get some big points for the team, Aston Martin could potentially be in a battle just to cling on to P5 in the championship, which you've got to realise we still have about 18 races remaining in the F1 calendar. As absolutely odd as it sounds, we are only 25% of the way through this F1 season. Yeah, but the problem with Ricciardo is that Ricciardo is very PR friendly and he brings a lot of attention through his driver profile. I know we want to see Liam Lawson get a seat in F1, but the thing is Liam Lawson isn't rated that super highly by the Red Bull hierarchy. I don't know, things like his attitude and his genuine driver talent. Like, I know Lawson had a decent stint in his brief spell at RB last year, but Ricciardo is a marketing puppet. That's all I'm saying. Mick Schumacher should have replaced Logan Sargeant. But you also have to remember, Logan Sargeant was a Williams and Academy driver, so Williams had spent a lot of money on bringing Logan Sargeant through the junior ranks. So of course they want to see some return for their investment. But of course, as we all know, I have said this already, Logan Sargeant is, in my opinion, a fall guy for Williams struggling to have a competitive car right now. And the fact they can barely run a 2-car team. So having so that, you know, and I've always maintained that they signed Sargeant so that they could focus on what's his name, Alex Albon for 2020 last season. That's not me saying that Sargeant is actually any good. What I'm saying is that Williams can only run one team right now. They're not that great of a team right now. Of course, if you're joining me, Max Verstappen has taken pole position ahead of the two McLarens of Piastri and Norris. Although, of course, Piastri has an investigation hanging over his head, so he could drop to P5. The two Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz are in P4 and 5. Russell is ahead of Russell is ahead of Tsunoda in the RB, and Hamilton is down in 8th, ahead of course, Ricciardo right now, of course, after beating, of course, the two. And then there's Hulkenberg in P10. Once again, doing a stellar job for Haas. It really does make you wonder, like how much of a difference Hulkenberg is making to the Haas compared to what the likes of Williams and Sauber have got in their teams. Of course, there's been a lot of upgrades that have come in this weekend. Ferrari, of course, as we all know, have brought upgrades, but their upgrades haven't been anywhere near good enough for them to be able to challenge for pole position. And McLaren, yeah, I think McLaren are now very much the second fastest team in Formula 1. I think there's no doubting that. Perez missing out on P3. Q3, I beg your pardon. Not a shocker by the Mexican driver. Oh, Ocon and Gasly P12 and 15. And that's the lap time that Max Verstappen completed. A 1 minute 14.746. That has got to be some sort of track record at Emilia, of course. Ever since that tragic day in 1994, the track has changed dramatically. The chicane at the back end of the circuit has been completely removed. Of course, that's the place where Barrichello had his horrific accident 30 years ago. Of course, Tamburello, as you can see, has a chicane added to it. And then, of course, Villeneuve has got a chicane added there where Ratzenberger was killed. And then, of course, the Acre-Milirali section in the middle of the track has also been dramatically changed. Of course, if you want to look at the stats of the most successful F1 drivers ever, Hamilton is well ahead of Michael for most pole positions. Yeah, Hamilton has the most pole positions, most podiums, most race wins. Sebastian Vettel has 122 podiums in his career, just ahead of Prost and Vettel with 106. Of course, Alonso is leading the way for most race starts with 383 career starts for the Spanish driver, ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. Pietro Fittipaldi should have replaced Mazepin, yeah, but we all know, of course, Mazepin brought all that money from his dad's bloody company in Russia before, of course, the whole thing kicked off over there at that side of the world. Course, if you were to ask me my predictions for tomorrow's race, I think Verstappen should be able to win as long as, of course, he doesn't make a mistake and there's no crazy safety car tomorrow. The two McLaren should be right up there on the podium. I think, you look at this qualifying order, and this more or less looks like where I think most of the drivers will finish. Although as for Perez, though, I think Perez will probably finish P7 ahead of Tsunoda, Hamilton and Ricciardo. Hulkenberg, unfortunately, will probably drop out of the top 10. I don't see him scoring points at all. And it's going to be yet another race where I think, Aston Martin and who else? Williams, Sauber, Haas, all struggle to score points. Alpine? So it's going to be the Alpines, the Haasers, the Williams, the Saubers, and of course Aston Martin having a dreadful weekend. And at this rate, I think Aston Martin are going to really desperately look behind him in terms of course, how quickly could Albon catch up with them for P5 in the Constructors' Championship. Max Verstappen has 103 podiums. Yeah, thank you for reminding me that. Well, as good as Max Verstappen is, we have got to realise that Red Bull is one seriously fast car. It's enabled Max Verstappen to win 19 out of 22 races last year. And of course, thanks to the expansion of the calendar, I mean, Max Verstappen is inevitably going to be racking up the stats very dramatically as time goes on in the next 18 months. RB always do well at Imola. Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, Gasly qualified P4 back in 2020 before, of course, he suffered a mechanical failure. And then, of course, Danny Kvyat managed to finish P4 in the actual race itself after, of course, the safety car restart where he flew past 3 cars on the restart, beating Albon and like Ricciardo and quite a few other drivers. I thought he also overtook Perez on that restart. What a restart that was by Danny Kvyat, who of course is sadly not in F1 anymore. Kevin Magnussen is now, on 10 penalty points after Miami, so he's in serious trouble. How good do I think Grosjean's prime was? I think Grosjean picked up 9 podiums in his first 2 years at Lotus, so he was fairly decent, and he could be rapidly quick over one qualifying lap, but as we all know, Grosjean always had a habit of crashing out in races and making some shocking errors. So really, I mean, Grosjean was, I think, more or less someone who was a very good midfield driver, but you gotta realise he was never top team material because of his tendency to make some shocking, horrific errors under pressure. Of course, yeah, Russell having that crash with Bottas in 2022, that was really stupid, I've got to say. Of course, Mercedes are hoping that their new upgrades will help them improve, but I don't really see it for Mercedes. Like Mercedes, I think are a team that have their feet stuck in the mud. To be honest, it does seem to be like ever since the likes of Andy Cowell left the engine department and James Vowles left to go to become team principal at Williams, they've just not been a good enough team at this point anymore. I've got to say it is, if I'm doing a live stream tomorrow, I think I will actually do a live stream when Channel 4 do their post-race replay of the race, because to be honest, I don't really feel very comfortable like coming on here and talking on about the race whilst only having like a timing map to stare at. I have been wondering what I'm going to do for the live stream tomorrow, because of course I don't have this software where you've got all the live timing data. I will be considering my options in tomorrow's race very heavily, mind you. I mean, there could be an option where I could decide to put the radio on in one room and then turn the TV on here and show you this timing graphic so that I could get updates from one from my radio whilst watching this race. I think that would be a good idea, surely. And thank you for liking my video. And yes, that's right, Bayer Leverkusen, what a year they are. Like, they are the true invincibles of European football. Like, forget Arsenal being the invincibles 20 years ago. What was that all about? That's a load of garbage, in my opinion. So, if you're joining me, that's right, Max Verstappen is on pole position. Oscar Piastri and Norris are in P2 and P3 for McLaren. The 2 Ferraris who have had an upgrade for this weekend can only salvage P4 and 5. Hello there, Ruxford. I hope you're doing well. Russell, Hamilton are sandwiched by sandwiching Tsunoda's RB with Ricciardo right behind him in P9. Hulkenberg once again reaches P10. Q3 in yet another spectacular qualifying run by the 36-year-old German. Sergio Perez missed out on Q3. Another shocking qualifying performance by the Mexican driver, who I've got to say this is only at Red Bull because Red Bull don't really have any options in terms of who can replace him in the second or Red Bull seat right now. He's a very lucky guy, I've got to say. Alpine's there's Ocon is in 12th place. Stroll is in 13th, but in what has been a problematic weekend for the Aston Martin team. Albon qualifying 14th, in very much the best he can do for the struggling Williams team. Gasly having another average weekend, qualifying 15th. I've got to say this. And he was half a second slower than Ocon. I am seriously worried for Gasly. I've got to say this. If Gasly has the opportunity to go and join Williams at the end of this season, I think he should take it because he needs to be in a team where he's got a beatable teammate. And I think Albon is a very beatable driver for Gasly because there's no way Gasly can have like 2 seasons where he's getting trashed by Ocon. Like, this is not good for his CV, and this is not good for his reputation. This is not good. Hello to everyone watching, and of course in Q1, the 2 Sauber boys of Bottas and Zhou, 16th and 17th. No real raw speed in the Sauber, and of course I think Sauber's chances of getting points, which came in, what was it, China and Australia and South Saudi, where I think Bottas genuinely could have scored a couple of points there. I'm not sure, Sauber. I mean, how many points will Sauber score? I'm not sure. And then, of course, 18th was, I completely forgot, what was it? I think you probably saw it on the timing sheet, but of course, Tsunoda qualified 20th and last. Oh my God, I've completely forgotten now that I can't see it. Oh yeah, Magnussen. P18 after, of course, an incident with Piastri where Piastri could receive a 3-place grid penalty. 19th was Alonso, who's had chronic problems who had a crash in FP3 and, of course, had to abort 2 of his qualifying laps due to, of course, his car having to be fixed in between FP3 and qualifying. So, shockingly bad weekend all round for the Aston Martin team. And of course, 20th and last is the heavily beleaguered Logan Sargeant, who, I mean, is pretty much just dead because Williams need a 4 guy. And he is, of course, essentially their academy driver who's just there to pick up the slack for the Williams team. Of course, please comment, like, subscribe, and comment who you think is going to win the race tomorrow. I mean, if we're going to do race predictions, I think Max Verstappen will finish ahead of both McLarens. I think Piastri, if he gets a 3-place grid penalty, will pick off the 2 Ferraris and finish behind Norris, who I think will continue his strong form from China and Miami and finish second. I think Tsunoda could well pull off a shock and finish P6 and beat George Russell, whilst Hamilton will beat Ricciardo for P8, and then P10, in my opinion, well, not P10, no, actually, P8, no, P6 will be Sergio Perez, since, of course, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez will definitely make it to P6 minimum. Like, that Red Bull should be more than fast enough for Perez to get P6 tomorrow. Then P7 will be Yuki Tsunoda ahead of George Russell. And then the battle for P9 will be between Lewis Hamilton, who will beat Daniel Ricciardo, who I think will score a point for RB tomorrow, and put some pressure on, of course, the Aston Martin team for P5. So, I hope you enjoyed what I've said. I hope you enjoyed this review of qualifying. Of course, I only watched the first, the final 20 minutes due to, of course, me being missing Q1 and Q2 for undisclosed reasons. I hope you're having a good day. Do all the usual stuff, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another watch along.